everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today, I will just be running through my portfolio, highlighting some specific pieces or projects that I think would be good for you to see in terms of the level of quality that I can provide for hotels. I'll just flick through a little bit about me. So I'm South African born. In South Africa, I worked as an interior design assistant, but mainly on sort of high-end residential projects. When I moved to the UK, I started working for 10 London, and there I found myself doing more FF&E focused projects. I sort of became part of the FF&E team and grew within that team. And within that role, my main focus was on build to rent projects. I think these can go quite hand in hand with hotels because it's sort of a mix of residential and hospitality. I focused on mostly the public spaces, so very similar to public spaces in hotels, which is why I think my experience can be really valuable. I'll flick through some of my highlighted projects. One of the first being Millwrights Place. This is in Bristol. So this is a build-to-rent amenity. There were quite a few amenities. There were a game social lounge, private dining and lounge. There was outside terraces, co-working spaces, a few key activities that I was part of in this project were the material selection. So you'll see down here material boards that I made with all of our selected materials. There were quite a few particular materials in this, one of them being this really interesting wallpaper that came from our sort of concept theme throughout the project of being travelers, and Bristol obviously being sort of a port and a way for ships and cargo and travel back in the day. So this sort of played out throughout the project. I obviously did the furniture spatial planning and all of the FF&E procurement. FF&E procurement included all of the furniture, styling, artwork, planting, which you'll see in some of the renders. You'll see here at the bottom, right-hand side, the FF&E selection for this particular space. And yeah, this was quite a small project, but I think good because it had quite a mix of different amenities. So it was a really nice project to work on. It sort of had a little bit of everything. The outside terraces was something quite new for me, so that was also really nice to work on. Yeah, let me move on. The Barnum, this was in Nottingham, one of my first projects that I did. Again, included all of the usual amenities, so a nice big co-working lounge space. It again had a smaller terrace, had a private dining and a games room with a nice pool table. And again, my role within this project was the furniture selection, so the indoor and outdoor, as well as all the styling, planting, and artwork. And you'll see from the visuals to the reality, it came out really nicely. We were able to procure a lot of the items that were quite similar to the visuals. This was important for our client at the time. And just making sure that anything in reality came out really similar to what we were showing in the conceptual CGIs. Next one is Broad Street by Cortland. This was in Birmingham, another BTR development. This was a really large project, probably one of my favorites. It started out as an FF&E project, but was actually completely redesigned by the design team. Obviously, my role started out in the design, doing some of the material selection and the material boards. We also styled and designed 2 show apartments, and then finally went on to do all of the FF&E selection for all of the amenity spaces. Quite a few different amenity spaces in this project, which is really nice. We had a really beautiful big bar, as well as a co-working area. We had 2 lounges upstairs, one of them being this picture over here with the large sofa. It was over 10,000 square feet of amenities, so a really big project. It's been nominated for quite a few different awards, which is really exciting. And yeah, probably one of my personal favorites, just because I think it was a good showcase of what FF&E we can procure because of its size. You'll see a few different selections here. So I've put in a visual. This was a garden room, so quite calm vibes, some nice, like more indoor, outdoor looking furniture. And this was a selection for it. And this, some more images from site. This was the bar area. So you can see our furniture plan that we drew up. And we had some really beautiful, nice, low, comfortable furniture, our selection, and then some images from site again. Next is the casting. So this is in Manchester. This is another BTR development, but on a little bit of a higher end, which was quite nice to work on. It won Public Space of the Year for the BritList Awards last year. I think the amenities were sort of our usual amenities. There was co-working, private dining, and lounge. We had something that we've never had before, which was a sensory room, which is quite interesting. We had this really low, comfortable sofa and a really large screen, ideal for, you know, if people were watching games or meditation, yoga, etc. Quite an interesting room. I think it was quite popular on site as well with some of the residents. And again, within this project, I assisted with materials, but my main focus was on the FF&E procurement. Again, slightly on the higher end, which was nice. Our client was a hospitality client, usually building 5-star hotels. So FF&E definitely needed to be on the higher end of the scale, which was nice to see. I think it came out really beautifully. We did some really beautiful custom rugs for it as well. Also, obviously, all the artwork, planting, and some really nice styling. And then we obviously assisted with post-completion support. The team needed a few more bits, and we assisted with furnishing a few more rooms, such as the meeting rooms, etc. So that was nice to see. We have a really good relationship with our clients, and it's always, as a FF&E designer, one of my focuses to ensure that they feel like they can keep coming back and feel supported. Just some more images. This room in particular was a games room. We had a little DJ deck / bar over here. Really nice, sort of outdoor biophilic details. This was the material boards and FF&E selection down here. We had some beautiful custom rugs made. Yeah. Next is the Kimmeridge. So this was a smaller BTR project in Oxford, but still really beautiful. It had some really large outdoor terraces. I think there was quite a big outdoor focus on this project, which is nice. It was in a really green, lush area of Oxford. So yeah, there was a lot of emphasis on biophilia and bringing in that sort of nature and outdoor element, even into the indoor spaces. There was obviously also co-working spaces, including a meeting room, which you'll see in this image here, as well as private dining / a lounge. I think the overall look of this project came out really beautifully. Despite it being quite a small project, I think it packed quite a punch. I assisted obviously with the FF&E selection and procurement, but then also assisting with the finishes selection and the scheduling of the finishes, and all of the usual installation of the furniture, styling, outdoor terraces, etc. This was our social lounge, so it came out really, really beautifully. We had a really lovely wallpaper with all of these different pastel shades, which I brought in through the FF&E. This was a material board, so you'll see different colors being brought in, and then some images from site after execution. Next, we have the Holloway. This is a Birmingham-based project. It is being developed in 2 phases. So one of the phases is complete, and then the other one will be complete at the end of this year. This is, again, quite a large project with lots of different amenities, some slightly different that we've never done. There's a smaller bar, there's a karaoke room, there's a music room, a podcast studio. So some really fun amenities for obviously a young and up and coming demographic, which is quite nice. Something that I don't think a lot of the BTRs in Birmingham have. In terms of this project, my roles and responsibilities were the finishes selection, the indoor and outdoor terraces, the outdoor terraces and indoor furniture selection and procurement, as well as the installation. And you'll see these are some of the visuals. And then this is the first phase that is complete. And you'll see some of the visuals, on-site images, and then an FF&E selection for one of the lounges as well. Going into some schemes that are slightly different. I've also worked on the John Lewis schemes. So these are for the build to rent projects being built by John Lewis in London. Not necessarily at the full selection and design stage, but I thought I would include it so that it's a good indication of more hospitality style things. There's a material board here and FF&E selection down here. But obviously this will go further once planning has been granted, and they'll move on with more intensive design works. And then just an idea more for sort of higher end, but this is obviously a residential project in Saudi Arabia. But just to give an idea of my experience with more higher end FF&E lookbooks, mood boards, etc. And then obviously just some South African experience. These are some residential projects that I worked on. But yeah, not as relevant. I think my BTR experience is a lot more relevant to the hotel market, especially in the public spaces. So yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. I'll answer any questions if anyone's got any questions at the moment.
All right. What was a project that was challenging and how did you overcome that challenge?
So I think a project that was challenging was definitely the project that I'm on now, actually. The reason for this project being challenging was typically in the BTR world for FF&E, depending on the client, obviously, some of the budgets are quite tight for FF&E. I think a lot of the money is spent on design work. So FF&E usually doesn't have a massive budget. I've luckily been able to grow a database of suppliers that are high end and sort of middle end of the spectrum in hospitality FF&E. With this project in particular, our client wanted to see a lot of the furniture, which made it quite difficult. Because when you're sourcing from middle end FF&E, a lot of them are being manufactured in Europe, such as Portugal, Italy, etc. And it's not necessarily UK made, or they have UK showrooms. How I overcame this was by chatting to suppliers that I knew they could see product in the UK, negotiating better deals and discounts, and then also identifying key pieces and talking them through what key pieces they could see and what pieces maybe weren't so relevant to see, and also ensuring them that I had seen product. I've obviously gone to many shows where I've tested product. I know the suppliers quite well, and ensuring them that I was confident in all of the products that I was putting into the project. And this is something that I will take forward in every project that I do. I will always ensure that the pieces that I'm putting forward, I have trust in, and I know that they're good pieces. So yeah.
Cool.
Nice. And Hayley, what is a personally favorite project for you and why?
Personal favorite, I would say Broad Street, because I think there were quite a few different amenities, lots of different rooms, but I think all of them had their own character and all of them were slightly unique and different, but still worked obviously together as a cohesive project. I think that's probably why it was my favorite. I think any room you went into, it felt slightly different and you felt like you were in a different place, but obviously the building still had to operate as one. I know that we've had some really lovely feedback, and it's been nominated for quite a few awards. So I'm hoping that others can obviously see the effort and the thought that was put into this project as well.
Amazing. And why do you think you're best suited to this role compared to another designer?
I think my experience is probably the best indicator. Obviously, I've done a selection here of my portfolio, but there are other projects. I think my experience in the BTR world is definitely useful. When it comes to hotels, I think obviously public spaces are quite similar to this. There's a lot of similar rooms and different styles of furniture. And I think from working so many years in the BTR world and procuring so many different pieces of furniture, I have really good experience. I have really good relationships with all of my suppliers, which allows me to ask for special discounts, negotiate pricing, negotiate lead times, negotiate products being slightly altered or different. I think my relationship with the suppliers is ultimately a really good thing that I have to offer. And yeah, I think just overall my experience, my eye for design, my relationship with suppliers, I think ultimately is a really good quality that I can bring. Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. And I hope to hear back from you soon. And I hope you enjoyed my presentation today. Cool. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.